Good evening, Free Enterprise watchers. I'm Alisal, and I'll be bringing you in today. We have NablaForce versus Kohrek today, and I'm joined here by my co-commentator and Venerable. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good, Allie. Looking forward to this exciting 2-0 match. Got a couple of undefeated racers about to go at it in this Fabul Gauntlet match. For our viewers here on RPG Limit Break who might not have caught one, what can you tell me about Free Enterprise and the Fabul Gauntlet right quick?
Well, Free Enterprise is an open-world randomizer for Final Fantasy IV, also known as Final Fantasy II in the US. And the Fabul Gauntlet is a 1v1 tournament where players, rather than being faced against three other opponents, are only placed against one. And it's a winner-take-all sort of situation.
Exactly. So gets a little spicier in terms of maybe observing your opponents and metagaming their preferred strats, or alternately just, ignoring that all and just trying to play as fast as you can. We've got a pretty interesting start here tonight. We have Sid for our starting character, very strong, comes in at a higher level than most just because that's what he starts at in the vanilla game. Can dish out pretty good damage, so we might see some very quick charges into hostile territory this seed.
Very true. An early Sid can take on things such as the Inn or some of the harder bosses that you wouldn't normally want to take on quite so early, especially if you can get an early Rune Axe or even a Ogre Axe can do some work in these seeds.
Absolutely. And I'm really excited to actually watch these racers in action. Kohrek, of course, is kind of an old hand at the Link to the Past randomizer. Very well-known one, has had good success advancing through their tournaments over the last few years, and has just, in the last few months, gotten into Free Enterprise and has done a very good job here as well. Again, that 2-0 stat line so far in Swiss does not lie. NablaForce is a little more of an enigma. Hasn't done any races on our Discord using RaceSpot, has only done a scant few on SRL. So a little more cloaked in mystery there. But again, the 2-0 does not lie. So exciting to see this match coming up.
And as Scala Kitty, our resident artist, points out, we do have the Vaporwave Sid, which is new to 4.0, came with the last set of palette.
Oh yeah, the Scala Kitty, our artist in residence, who has done a huge amount of the Zeroma sprites that get randomized. You'll see that at the end of the race. Also had a new Fab pack, including a Vaporwave palette for every character in the game to suit our most recent Zima Zone tournament aesthetic. So always fun to see what palette variations appear over the course of the race. Quick other mention regarding Free Enterprise, of course. It is an open world randomizer. Key items, boss spots, treasure, all shuffled. Bosses retain their scripts at all the locations, but their stats will be scaled based on where you go. So that will definitely play into these racers' routing. And hopefully we'll get the stream delay caught up soon and get this thing rolling. What are you hoping to see tonight, Allie? What kind of objectives or just general nastiness would you like them to have to deal with?
I think tonight I'm looking for some required music. Always love to hear the music and just something that takes them all over the world rather than kind of being bottlenecked by one item.
Sounds good to me. And we do have a Palom start, a Dr. Lugate at the Beigen spot, and a hook right out the gate. The reason that's intriguing, chat, is that there are two paths underground. Magma Key, which just lets you get there instantly. It's kind of the second big zone of the game. And the hook path, which frequently requires fighting some rude bosses in rather strong spots and requires a little extra preparation. Let's see what our 5 objectives are, though. Guiding Way is going to be popping up on the screen, and our tracker will be getting those populated for you soon. Oh, and incidentally, huge shout out also to our tracker, Bahamut X, and our restreamer, Jofus Manho.
The only one I caught in that was some required music.
Well, that's the only one you were looking for, right? So I did see unlock the sewers with the Baron key, which is interesting because you just have to unlock them. You don't have to go all the way through. Yang, you did get the Cave Magnus. Open the pass door. We will be taking the shortcut as Aromas. Super Cannon. All right, so we have one character check and a lot of item hunts. We need the pass, we need the Twin Harp, we need the Tower key to lower Babel, and we need the Baron key.
And we did see on Nabla's screen Big Brother Golbez hanging out with his little bro, Cecil, in the Baronet.
Hey, nothing like going out to a nice dinner with your siblings, you know, just catching up, having a good time, and being a boss fight that no one is eager to tackle this early. It was mentioned in chat that people were excited to see that Palom pair. Palom is a very strong black mage, gains HP and levels and some very potent spells faster than Redia does. Won't get access to your Leviathans or your Bahamut's, but we'll get Quake and Virus very quickly if we can clear out a few boss spots.
And we do see a Sylph pickup as well. Very, very useful summon for early healing.
Yeah, if we see a Rydia soon, we can take advantage of that. There is a bug in the vanilla game that makes the Sylph spell not cost any MP if you're able to cast it. So if you just level Rydia up to the 25 MP mark, she can spam that over and over to keep your team healthy, drain some HP from foes, and it even works on undead without penalty, unlike normal drain effects.
And we are joined by another bruiser here, Kane, in the Hobbs location, guarded by the Sisters of Magnus.
Yeah, Kane also, fantastic character. Like Sid, he can equip most heavy armor and a wide variety of weapons. He can't use bows, but he can use spears and swords and axes. I did spy an elven bow in our runner's inventories, which gives strength against mage types. The Magus Sisters count. If we were to put that on Sid, we'd be seeing some quadruple damage right here. That would be some something spicy to see. We'll see if NablaForce puts that to good effect.
And I do believe we also saw a Dwarf Axe, which can back row glitch Arcane.
Yeah, back row glitch. In Final Fantasy IV, they forgot to include a way to remove that back row setting. So if you equip a back row weapon, you're doing full damage from the back row, and if you stay there, you're taking half damage from physicals. So a very useful thing to take already beefy, well-armored characters and just make them into even stronger tanks. We're seeing the power of Sid here. This fight would be nearly impossible if we had to start with, say, Palom and Rydia, Porum and Yang, lots of low damage characters, but Sid comes in bruising out the gate, and Kohrek and soon NablaForce will have cleared this spot in a hurry.
And we did pick up a change rod for our Palom, a very nice piece of equipment early on.
Yeah, it's a pretty good Black Mage stat stick. Gives +5 to Wisdom, the Black Mage casting stat. So we'll power up those spells a little bit. With that, NablaForce also through. Kohrek heading heading next on to Antline Cave. Another relatively easy boss spot, especially with how this team is shaping up. Do want to bring to mind, we did find that hook. One of the safety features of Free Enterprise is that your way underground cannot be gated. Well, let me rephrase. Your only way underground cannot be gated by certain bosses. One of those bosses is that Golbez in the Baron Inn. Golbez, Valvalis, Wyvern, these are ones that can be a little too rude, so under default flags, they won't gate you. But we have one way underground. It's entirely possible that that Golbez gates the Magma Key, and we could have an even easier path, which might be interesting to see.
Now, if you were racing, would you push that hook right away, or would you give it a shot before you went on down?
So I've had some bad experiences with putting off the hook character because I thought my team was mighty. But until you see Fusoya, the Lunarian who gains spells a little differently than most mages, you're not as strong as you think you are. So I don't mind the Antlion check. It's a very quick check, but after this, I myself would dive that hook very quickly just to see who's down there. If it's you get to peek the boss at the Rubicon spot, so you can get an idea of what you're going to need to clear it. And if there's a really good character there to soup up your team, soup them up.
And we see Dark Elf hiding in the Antlion spot. Not too scary, and very easily cheesable once you've gotten him to his second form.
Absolutely. The Dark Elf doesn't have the boss bit on its dragon form. I think it's still death immune, but it's vulnerable to weak, to stop, which our kid already knows. But this spot has such low HP, we're probably just going to see damage dealt. But I think we are going to learn something from Kohrek right quick. Oh, no, I was wrong. I could have sworn that flame-based weapons do reduce damage to that dragon form, but that fire too did the job. My bad.
And no key item from that check, but did get a life staff, which is the best white mage staff in the game.
Oh yeah, plus 15 to your will stat. Put that on anyone, and even those cure ones will be coming out very nice. And those split cure 4s that you'll be throwing in the late game will also be very, very powerful.
Or if you get really desperate at spells for 20,000 gold.
I mean, there's always that consideration. The 4.0 version of the game did rebalance the economy, and sometimes there's just stuff you need a little more than that extra boost to your white magic. Plague here at the Fabul spot. Allie, given your current experience level with the game, what is your reaction when you find Plague in most spots?
I'm gonna die.
Well, luckily this spot has pretty low HP, just around 17 to 1800, so not too much of a concern. Plague's one of those bosses that up to a certain point, it's very annoying, and then you learn like the 2 to 3 tricks that trivialize it, and you start to be very happy to see Plague in most spots. This is one that I don't think anyone has to worry about here. We've got great weapons on Sid and Kane. We have our tier 2 spells on Palom. Both racers will clear this very quickly.
No, definitely in these early spots, Plague is very, very quick to take down. It's when you start seeing him in the high HP spots where you have to get a little more creative.
Yeah, common strats include beating down one of your own characters and lifing them up, which will then draw a refresh of the count attack by Plague. Other ones involve abusing the ATB system in this game to where it can never count down that final 0-0 tick. And then there's some fun things that you can actually reflect the spell back at Plague. Even though you can't cast Doom on it yourself, its spell will reflect and it will hit itself and start the counter on Plague.
Well, and sometimes if you can actually beat Plague to the gun and get a reflect off before he can even do the count spell, he'll never do anything else. He'll just keep trying to count down on that character that doesn't have a count spell.
Absolutely. So all these strats are going to be pretty handy as we get higher on in the Gauntlet in the Swiss rounds. As the competition gets fiercer, hopefully on these restream matches we'll see some pretty cute or interesting tricks to clear bosses that you might not have gotten to do in your vanilla playthroughs of Final Fantasy IV. A little more shopping percent. Won't surprise me if our racers head up ordeals shortly. We do know, well, at least we know from one of our racers that it's Cecil in the Baron Inn. He doesn't become a paladin unless you complete Mount Ordeals, and this looks like a pretty good team for tackling those 3 boss spots.
Well, and we have seen a lot of heavy armor in this seed already, so getting that Cecil and abusing his cover strats is a very viable way of getting through that hook route as well.
Oh yeah, if there are any monsters there that take advantage of the heavy physical attack of both the Ebel and Royal spot and the speed plus attack of the Ruby spot, you can put that Paladin Cecil to work just tanking everything. In case you're wondering what some of these items you're seeing are, again, if you're unfamiliar with the game, uh, there are a lot of items that weren't in your vanilla playthrough. They were dummied out for the US version. The developer Boardface patched them back in using their names from the PlayStation release. You'll see things like illusions, which will give you a dose of blink on the character who uses it. Later, we may see Bacchus wines that will give berserk status to the user. Hourglasses, which do stop on all enemies. Star Veils, which give you a dose of reflect. So no high-level white mages, no problem for some of these effects if you're willing to shell out the cash for them.
And in the most recent iteration, those prices have changed significantly.
Yeah, the one side effect of having all these great J items is that they kind of counterfeit the utility of white mages, and it's been a bit of a meme in the community to kind of dump on Porum for a while. Significantly lower HP than Rosa, gets higher level spells at much later levels than Rosa does, kind of the opposite of the Rydia Palom situation. And this rebalance has definitely brought her back into the fold as a very important and desired character to get early on.
We do see Kohrek heading up Mount Ordeals while Nabla does do some additional looting.
Yeah, Nabla continuing to check these overworld shops, even picking armor shops. There's a lot of goodies now on the standard shops flag that you can even get in the overworld. But Kohrek wanting to go ahead and clear out more key item locations. Does get a rune axe heading up Ordeal, which is a pretty good weapon for either Kayn or Cid, as long as you can manage its rather low accuracy. LCB in the chat, it does take a little getting used to, but one of our favorite things for a lot of people who play this rando is the fact that it rewards knowledge immensely. There's always something you can learn how to do better, some strat or technique you can learn, and every one of these can give you that little bit of extra edge you need in a race.
And our first boss on Mount Ordeals is Antlion, which should be no problem in this spot.
Oh yeah, this Mylon 1 spot has very low attack power, so the punches won't be too bad. The main annoyance will be if we do a manual hit with Cid, we will draw a counter. But this is a great place to see Antlion, especially if we already have that hook. You do not want to run into Antlion at either of those hook boss spots, so I would actually be breathing a sigh of relief to have it out of the boss pool at this point.
And we do see some divergence where Nabla is going after Golbez, took down his Palom at the Mist Dragon spot, so shouldn't have any problem with the Shadow Dragon.
That was very clever. Great foresight on NablaForce's part. Again, had already been in here earlier during the initial loot route, had seen that Golbez. Golbez starts every fight by paralyzing your team and summoning his Shadow Dragon, which will then do an instant death attack until it's done 3 attempts, or you're down to 2 standing characters. You come in at 2 standing characters, boom, runs away, guess he's full. So excellent foresight and planning by NablaForce. You'd love to see it. And only 400 HP or so here at this spot, so Kayn's going to take it down in a hurry. But Golbez does get that virus off on Cid. Going to be entering the second fight here with only 1 party member standing.
But it does look like it is a free fight, and I think we did see an hourglass, so going to throw that out and hopefully gets that off without his king dying.
Very nice fight to see here. An Hourglass 2 is a little costly to use, but you don't want to be eating all these attacks with only one character left. And the Officer Soldier fight doesn't have that boss bit, so the stop effect will work. Meanwhile, the back attack spot on Ordeals is being a little ruder. Baigen here, without a White Mage, we're going to be chewing through some life pots and Cure 2s here, I bet. I am surprised that Nabla takes the time to life up Palom here, though. This spot doesn't actually give any experience, so you're not really getting a benefit by doing that for your Palom. I guess just getting the tier 2 spell damage may have been the bigger goal here. Makes sense. Because Kane's not going to take down all 4 of these frozen foes on his own, not in any kind of quick fashion at least.
And Baigen does go down on Kohrek's side. Does not take a safety save. Very risky.
Yeah, we've already found one way underground, so this could be a surprise wyvern's always fun, but probably not too much to worry about. We do get a Protect Ring from Baron N, a fantastic accessory that pretty much anyone can wear, except for Dark Knight Cecil. And Dark Knight Cecil probably won't contribute too much to going up the mountain, but he'll be a welcome addition once we get that class change.
And we did see a pan on the top of Mount Ordeals, so that means we only have to go down to the Sylph Cave once.
The Rivers McCown, although he is currently engaged in his own race, is shaking his head right now. Racers doing Fabul just for a Legend Sword, when if they'd just done this spot first, they could have done the very rare and very nice single dip Sylph Cave and Fabul. But with that hook route, you're probably checking Fabul anyway before you go underground.
And this is a pretty nice spot to see CPU, low HP, and you don't have to worry about finding him in a much worse spot later on.
Yeah, CPU is probably the most annoying kind of free boss in the game, just because of how slow it can be to deplete those HP at other spots. Not here, though. I do like it got the one parting shot of a globe on Sid before falling to the jump attack, though. So, unless there's a wily Mist Dragon hiding up at the Magus Sister spot in the Tower of Zot, I think we've exhausted our overworld at this point, haven't we?
Very true, and that sort of check is not something these runners will likely do, as they have no reason to go up there right now.
Yeah, that's a check that you probably only ever see if the flag is activated to turn trap chest encounters on. Then someone might peek it after going up there to check the flame dog spot anyway. You won't be seeing that here, though. We're going to do a little crisscross applesauce. Kohrek will probably clear the Baron in from here, and then we'll see both racers heading on down that hook route. Now, I don't think Kohrek has seen any of the Baron in baddies yet, so gonna be coming in here with all 3 characters standing. I'm curious if he'll take a reset to knock one down, or what his plan's gonna be for this Golbez fight. We saw how Nabla worked it out. Let's see how Kohrek handles it. Once he's finished with his shopping spree, of course.
Well, I'm probably looking for that cursed ring in those armor shops.
Yeah, that is definitely one of my favorite items. I'm kind of hoping and looking forward to. I'm hoping I make the bracket stages. I'm in this tourney as well, and I'm looking forward to when we upgrade both treasures and shops to the pro setting. Just because right now the cursed ring can be in any armor shop. With the other setting, it can only be in gated armor shops. And I would much rather just check 4 or 5 armor shops than having to worry about every single one in the overworld.
And we did see an example of that terrible accuracy with Kane's jump missing the antline.
Yeah, the Rune Axe and the Poison Axe both have a base accuracy of, I believe, just 60 or 65%. Which the only way to boost, there are only 2 ways to boost your accuracy in this game. One is to level up. Every 4 levels gets you 1 extra percentage of accuracy. And the other way is actually being in that middle spot in the party order. That'll give you a 25% bonus. Whatever your current accuracy is, multiply that by 1.25. There you go. So even though these poison and rune axes display a very high attack power, what you're not seeing on that equip screen is how they're tanking your accuracy.
And one thing that our developer board faced actually added in is all that back-end information. You can turn on the hint screen and it tells you exactly all of the hidden stats on armor and equipment.
And we do see Kohrek taking the reset right quick, casting Piggy on the full team. The reason you're seeing this Piggy spell being cast is there is a status priority system in Final Fantasy IV. It's used in the vanilla speedrun to prevent it being put into paralysis state by Golbez, and it's being used here. Most statuses preempt the paralysis status. And so now that hold gas will take no effect, and Kohrek will be able to get Star Veils up on all the characters he wants them to. The downside of this is that he won't be able to cast any spells with Palom for the next couple of fights, but I doubt he's really that worried about that at this point.
And Nabla is through the Baigan fight.
Remembering to add that Protect Ring, his Palom's going to be in great shape now. Palom, the Protect Ring gives great defense, but also gives resistance to fire, ice, and lightning, along with pretty good magic defense and evade, so very handy on a mage like that.
And our little piglets have their Star Veils up. So this should be a very quick fight.
The Shadow Dragon huffed and puffed and blew their Cid down. But the other 2 piggies, they're not going to get roasted today. And I believe I'm getting a little bit of stream hiccup. Are you getting that as well, Allie? Maybe our restreamer's getting some drop frames, or is Twitch just acting up?
I am also getting a little bit of hiccup. But it looks like it has cleared itself up, and we are going into the second fight in Baron N.
Yeah, sorry about the hiccups, chat. Our restreamer is working to get things stabilized for you. Luckily, because again, we did have a little bit of crisscrossing by our racers, we know what awaits each one in each of these spots. It'll just take a moment longer. And hopefully we'll be stabilized by the time we chase that hook route. That's where the new information will be coming in. That's when, ideally, everything will be peachy keen. Both racers completing their key item checks at roughly the same time. Now, I do believe Nabla is ahead on shop checks a lot. The question is Kohrek going to go ahead and check the remaining overworld shops that he's missing, or is he going to go ahead and make the underground dive as well?
And we do see a black belt, which is a very nice piece of equipment out of the cave, Eblin.
Yeah, the black belt is one of the preferred light armors to equip on your fighters. It gives I believe, a strength and a vitality bonus that heavy armor doesn't usually. You won't have quite as much defense, but if you're just wrecking everything before it can wipe you, no problem there. And it does look like Kohrek wants to finish off those shop checks, so just going to be a half step behind Nabla here. But again, still pretty much neck and neck, going to be anyone's game. Let's think here. We've seen both the Baron guards and the Kaipo guards. So at least those two freebie fights are out of the boss pool. I'm hoping for something nasty here up at these next two boss locations.
A good old Kegnazo or Evil Wall is always a nice little problem for the runner.
LCB in chat with a question: what causes a duplicate playable? Oh my, you called it. That evil wall is terrifying. I would probably be getting ready to stack armor on that Cecil and get ready for cover strats. And to do 25,000 before the crush phase starts, I hope you got a stack of life potions to win the battle of attrition. And anyway, LCB, there are, under this flag set, there are 13 locations you can get characters. There are only 12 characters in the game, so one of them will have a duplicate somewhere out there. The dream team, of course, ends up having like a duplicate Fu. Other times you get yourself a duplicate Edward and you're not as excited. There are slightly more generous flags that include the free character pickup locations from the vanilla game, and that bumps it to about 18 or 19 character locations. So then you're going to have even more duplicates, and if you set your flags to say only have 3 available characters, well then each of those 3 will have duplicates, duplicates, duplicates everywhere.
If you wanted to have your own party of Edwards or Sids or Fusoyas to take to Zeromus, you can do that.
So I would like to reiterate for chat too that our restreamer Jofas here has rolled well, I'm going to go ahead and say it. This is the rudest upper babble I have seen yet in one of these Fabul Gauntlet matches. We have had like 30 to 40 matches a week, so I've not seen all of them, but I would have a little bit of panic here. This fight's a lot easier if you have white mages who can cast Blink. That gets you 2 free swings from the wall. It's a lot better if you found anyone with, well, if you found a Cursed Ring, which I don't think we've seen yet, because then you can do Agility Manip. That Ruby spot is very fast, and Evil Wall breaks the rules. It doesn't just attack like a lot of monsters does. It uses a little thing in the code called Start a Chain. Start a chain, move, attack, wait, start a chain, move, attack. And whenever Start a Chain hits in the queue, you can't do anything. So it attacks even faster than a lot of other melee-based bosses do.
But that crystal armor pickup is going to be a huge help for this fight.
Oh, and Purity in chat, Purity the cat in chat, very accurate. We did get a Porum. It does take a little bit of leveling to get her the Blink spell. Her Zerk spell will be actually very handy here, just because if you can clog the queue with your own attacks, that does help you keep up to speed. And illusions are very pricey, but they will probably be worth their weight in gold this fight. I would love a Moonveil.
Well, in the game, trolling and putting the Mad Ogre chest in the very last chest available.
Yeah, usually you like to fight them, then you get to your save point, you get all outfitted for the upcoming 2 boss fights. Here, if you want to do that, you're backtracking. Now, there are a couple of little quality of life features in Free Enterprise, and one of which can be used kind of strategically, is how experience works here. It's not split amongst the full team like it is in the vanilla game, unless you set it that way. And a character 5 levels behind the party median will gain double XP from a fight. That means that as long as everyone's still standing at the end of this ogre fight, both Cecil and Porum will be getting double XP from it. And Allie, what's going on with these life potions that you see as well?
So, one glitch that was in the original game that we've kept here to kind of help with the boring part of grinding out levels is enemies have a vitality stat of 0. So, when you resurrect a character, the amount of hit points they have is based on their vitality stat. And if your vitality is 0, you have 0 hit points and you die again. So for each one of these life potions that they're getting off, they are actually able to get extra experience.
And that's why you saw nearly 17,000 there, which of course gets doubled on Cecil and Porum. Well, that's... Okay, well, you know, we were excited about the prospect of a really cruel fight that was a crystal sword. The strategy here is going to be back row glitch your Cecil, give them that sword, get them zerked ASAP, and Mr. Paladin, tear down this wall. Wow,
Yes,
what a pickup.
This just went from very, very scary to almost free.
Now, the Evil Wall is still going to be doing really terrible things to this party. It will still probably be a little bit of a struggle, but the Crystal Sword is the strongest equipable weapon under this particular flag set. Just absurd attack power, big bonuses to Cecil's stats. He is going to single-handedly tear through the rest of the game. The sooner you can get him zerked in fights, the better. Like so. Making that first turn Porum, using it directly on Cecil to get him swinging. Dark Imps aren't playing, though. And yeah, Crystal Armor does prevent you from zerking unless you have an Avenger Sword, but Nabla Cecil is wearing a black belt for the bonus strength here. Wanted DPS. We'll have to see if Kohrek changes up the gear as well after getting the big stick right here.
And does not even take a safety save. Goes straight into that evil wall fight.
I mean, the imps, in all fairness, weren't that much of a struggle to get through. But Evil Wall knocks down one kid. Knocks down one Kane. Cecil is zerked up now. And has that stack of 5 illusions. Porum surviving by the skin of her teeth, popping one as well. Wanting to keep as many other characters up to take these hits instead of Cecil. But at 2,500 a pop, this is going to take about 10 swings from Cecil, if I've done my math correctly.
That does seem to be right. It is going to be a close one.
Now, imagine, chat, how this fight would have gone if we had not seen that crystal sword for Cecil. Imagine the sheer amount of suffering our racers would be going through, how much you would be enjoying it, and then get mad at our restreamer for giving them that sword.
And for those who are not as familiar with Free Enterprise, you may be wondering why Nabla is trying to kill her Sid, or his Sid, with his Sid. Would you like to explain that, Invenerable?
Sure. And by the way, the wall is crumbling. Nabla through first try. Really impressive. That sword helped a lot. But the purpose between trying to keep that Sid knocked down is the way they kind of piece together this initial swing at an ATB system in Final Fantasy IV. Your agility in combat in the vanilla game compares the monster's base agility and your other party member's base agility to Cecil's. If Cecil's not in the party, it would be whoever's in the middle spot. In Free Enterprise, the default is just whoever's in the middle spot. So ideally, you will keep a character around or find gear that lets you keep your middle character extremely slow. And then, even against fast bosses, just because of how that comparison is calculated, your moderate speed characters will be as fast as a super fast boss. Sid's a pretty slow character. We got a Dwarf Axe to make him even slower. He's a prime target for this agility anchoring, as we call it. Do see an Odin at the top of the tower on the way down. That spot actually has very low magic attack, so the Odin attack will not do much damage. With that crystal sword, I don't think it's that much of a problem, but we'll probably be chasing that pan before we do anything else here.
Very true. If there's one thing I've learned about Free Enterprise, it's check your freebies.
And although there is some strategy maybe in delaying this check if you don't have the pan yet, yeah, I mean, you can still go do Sheila's first check just like you can in vanilla. Talk to Yang, talk to Sheila for a pan, come back, bonk, go to Sheila again. You can clear that first part without the pan key item. But if you do have the pan key item, this is 3 checks, no fights required. Heading here first makes tons of sense.
And we do see Nabla gets the tower key. Very, very nice pickup.
Another one of those items that just really simplifies your routing in a seed. Again, you know, without the pan, there's always the question, do I go ahead and do Fabul when I'm underground? Do I go ahead and plan to do the Sheila 1 check? If you don't have the tower key, you say, am I going to go up lower Babel and see if that Dr. Lugay spot has something, knowing I may have to go back there again later? Getting a lot of really nice items that just simplifies the routing for our racers today. And Kohrek through Evil Wall first try as well. We were so excited to see that Evil Wall.
It's funny how a crystal sword will just make everything easy. Very true, Hawk Laser. Very true.
And Sheila's first item, the Adamant, second item, the Luca key. The reason the Adamant's so funny right now is that getting the Legend Sword and the Adamant, you can turn them into Kakul to forge the Excalibur, just like you can in vanilla. The Excalibur is only Cecil's second best weapon, though. We already have the Crystal Sword. You do unlock a bonus shop that could have some other really interesting gear there. But honestly, at this point, the time that takes, probably not worth it with our Cecil online to the fullest already.
And we see Kohrek heading straight to Sheila as well, or well, straight to Yang to head to Sheila as well. And Nabla is bashing his airship into the city of the dwarf.
I mean, look, you have a drill on the front of it. Why don't you just build your own hangar, basically? Like, no, I don't want to have to walk. Let me just land on top of the castle. I think we need to get this into the feedback and ideas section of the Discord. This play does make sense, by the way, even though we do have that double check, including a required check up the tower. We've still not seen Yang yet. Well, except for this one. This is not one you can recruit. So this is a relatively easy character check in the Dwarf Castle, especially with how our team's looking. Did either racer peek the Kaipo bed when they were there? Did you notice that, Allie? I missed it if they did.
There was a duplicate Sid.
Oh, that's why we had the question about duplicates. Gotcha. Thank you. And this is cheeky. Kohrek deciding not to return to Sheila yet. Gonna go ahead and make the tower play right here, right now. I kind of like this, actually.
And we do see hourglasses for sale in Toria.
Tamra. Yeah.
I'll get there.
I mean, I have friends who combine Fabul, Evelyn, and Tamra all into one single city, and now it's just become a meme to them. So I feel you on the naming front.
But speaking of memes, does not validate their seed.
Well, maybe Kohrek will talk to the job dwarf eventually. Chat, just in case, just so you know what we're talking about, there is a dwarf in the vanilla game which just says, "I am a farmer." Boardface gave it a much wider variety of temp jobs that you get week to week. King and Queen Evelyn in the tower cannon room. This is another one of those relatively benign, kind of free fights that you would really like to see in a much ruder spot. This spot only has around like 600 HP or so seeing this benign boss fight here just kind of waste the spot, not unlike a few others we saw.
And that just keeps cutting down on the number of free bosses that we have left available on the moon. I think we may only be down to Waterhack.
I think so. And I will note that NablaForce did not proceed at Dwarf Castle, instead only wanting to do shop checks, and is now making the play at Tower pretty much side by side with Kohrek. So this Odin fight will have, I believe, just shy of 20,000 HP. We've seen the kind of damage Cecil is doing. We have at least Lightning 2 on Palom. I don't know if we have a Thunderclaw for our Young. Wait, do we have a Young? No, he's Get. Brain work. So not a whole lot of lightning-based options, but I think our racers are going to carve through this fight pretty quickly anyway.
And there goes the Berserk, and our Cecil is off.
Just a chill 2,800 per... Okay, that's over 5,000 damage already. Odin's only gotten one swing yet. Of course, Odin's script is 3 normal punches, then he lifts his sword and cues up the Zentetsuken, the Odin attack. Then we'll do 2 swings, and then another one, and then finally a 3rd swing, lift his sword, and then you can actually abuse his script to insta-kill him there before he does his 3rd Odin attack and restarts the chain, or you can just use Cecil with a crystal sword.
And I did miss what our pickup from that was.
That was the pass, yet another required item. So very nice so far. The pan gave everyone the tower key and said, hey, go here. And then that gave the pass, which is also required. If the tower key item on the way out gives us the Baron key or the Twin Harp, we might have another seat on our hands where everything's just one big chain.
Well, and based on our objectives, we also may not have to go to the moon.
Oh, that is true. As long as that Yang is only gated on Earth, we could have a seed where we don't even find the darkness crystal. So as soon as Kohrek gets down to the bottom of the tower, we'll see the cutscene. The Baron engineers will give us our reward for clearing the super cannon. The one thing I would worry about with Kohrek here is I hope that he does not forget his Sheila 1 and 2 checks. Of course, if the Luca key is not required, there's no problem, but it's still 2 key items on your way to 10, and even with this very potent Cecil, we're gonna have to get several more levels before we can fight Zeromus.
And only a silver apple for their troubles at the super cannon.
Uh, Item that gives plus 50 HP. If you're ever playing a seed with free items in shops, you can do some pretty interesting Zeroma strats by eating about 500 apples. You know, it keeps the Zeromus away. But for now, not the most exciting drop. You know what does excite me though?
Dwarf Castle?
Sparkly enemies at the Calbrina spot. Let's see which lunar boss this is.
This is probably one of the more terrifying waits to see what you've gotten yourself into.
Yeah, just the dance, the music, waiting on it. The Pale Dim is not much of a concern. It's going to punch really hard here, but Cecil is very strong, and all the Pale Dim does is punch. Unless you are foolhardy enough to hit it with certain magics. Quake and Virus, though, they're no problem.
Well, and it looks like it's nap time on Kohrek's screen for our little ones, as they are both down.
The twins are taking a nap. We've seen 3 Crystal Sword swings. That one I think was a crit. And with that landing, already through this spot. But will this give our Yang in the character spot only one objective completed by both racers at about the 49-minute mark? Hey, there he is.
And it's somewhat French vanilla with a bomb bomb.
Oh yeah, Yang fighting a mom bomb? Well, not adding him to our party this time. I do like kind of the party balance that we're seeing here. We do have an excellent HP tank in Sid to help throw potions eventually, and we got decent weaponry for him. Kane and Cecil are just great outright. We got our black mage and our white mage. Yeah, team's looking pretty good without having to add Yang to it.
And with the magic attack so low at that spot, this explode doesn't do a whole lot of anything.
Yeah, this is the vanilla Golbez spot, and in vanilla, since it was kind of intended to be a little more of a scripted fight than an actual good luck for your life fight, all those spells that he casts in vanilla do very little damage to your team, and any boss that gets randomized here, likewise. Quiet Slain asking in chat about moving the items around during fights. Yeah, frequently you'll see that during animations, just because if you know that, like, if it's the boss crumbling with an animation, it's a good time to get important items moved up to the top of your inventory and unnecessary items moved to the bottom of it. It's actually a strat that Free Enterprise kind of picked up from the vanilla speedrun. If you ever watch a No CW or No 64 run of this, there is a lot of in-fight agility, in-fight inventory management.
And we do see an earth crystal from Dwarf Castle.
That would probably be a little more exciting if we hadn't already found our Yang. That is 2 more character checks, and of course, Edge and Fu are both outstanding. Haven't seen either one yet. We're definitely going to see variation here. NablaForce has that Luca key that Kohrek hasn't been up to Sheila to get yet. You know, that is kind of cute, Pyrolite, because in later Final Fantasies, some of them, I think at least Final Fantasy VII, there were usable items that were called, like, right arm, and it was like the right arm of a bomb that hasn't exploded yet. So it's actually very thematically appropriate. Excellent point.
And slightly terrifying.
Also, yes. So the sealed cave is a bit of a hike, but the convenient thing about it is that we do get to see the key item before fighting the boss. If there's not anything of value here, Nabla will probably reset out. May peek the boss to see if it is the Mist Dragon. The Mist Dragon's the only boss gating a key item check on these objectives. But other than that, you don't have to walk out if there's nothing here worth keeping.
And we do see a tax accountant as our temp job dwarf. And Kohrek is heading down to the day march while Nabla gets a rat tail from the sealed cave.
Ooh. Schrodinger's rat tail. Is this going to be a required or important item? Well, only one way to find out.
And only a ribbon in Feymarch free check. But sirens in the item shop. Very nice find for these runners.
Valvalis is our foe down here. We do have a cane if we want to break the spin. It's actually kind of interesting. She kind of matches up very nicely with Evil Wall. Both her spot and the Evil Wall spot have absurdly high magic to make sure in the vanilla game they can land these ray attacks like she's doing right now. And punches all right, but not nearly as hard as some other spots. Question is, I'm pulling up the chart right quick. Can she be hit with magic here? No. Magic defense too high. And relatively high physical defense in the tornado form as well. Gets 4 defense modifiers. I mean, 4 evade multiplier. 4 evade checks. So even Cecil's damage was reduced quite significantly there.
Does decide to bring her out of the tornado form and gets a quake off, but then the kid goes down.
Yeah, great bonus damage from that quake, and you see Cecil now doing the 3000s and 4000s we expect instead of those like 1500s. So again, very few problems a Crystal Sword Cecil doesn't solve, but I think Kohrek just found one of them in Feymarch. That was a Dark Knight Cecil at the Asura spot. At that location, the Dark Waves do 670 to 804 damage per pew-pew. And yeah, that's not quite our current HP levels, I believe.
No, it might be a little while before we can get through that.
And the left boss fight was either a Rubicant or an Elements fight, and I don't think we've seen either one yet, so that one will still remain a mystery until one of our players runs into the other, or actually takes that fight.
And we do see Kohrek remembering his Sheila checks, heading up to speak to her now, while Nabla heads into the Feymarch to take a look at those bosses and get his free item.
Yeah, a ribbon, a classic Final Fantasy staple. In this game, it gives you resistance to the vast majority of status ailments. Doesn't actually give you any stat boost like a lot of other hats will in here, but a very nice piece of gear regardless. I wonder if Nabla will attempt to go ahead and take the bosses out right now, or decide they're too rude and go ahead and check the rat tail first. And I'm guessing still hunting a cursed ring.
And it looks like Kohrek is going to check that earth crystal.
Major divergence here, especially if NablaForce takes the time to kill either of these Feymarch bosses. This could be the thing that, like, it feels like Kohrek's been just a half step behind Nabla most of the seed, especially since Nabla's actually done the sealed cave already. This could be the thing that gives the edge to Kohrek going forward.
And Earth Crystal, not a check most of our runners would like to do, as we have no required bosses and have already found our required character. It is very, very long for a key item check.
Absolutely, but if this gives that Twin Harp, if this gives that Baron Key, then it will of course be required. And honestly, I would still not mind a Fusoya upgrade over either of my current mages.
Well, and we still haven't seen our demist, so it could be a bonus item as well.
Oh yeah, could be having a bonus round here. Nabla over here striving to get a sufficient amount of healing in. Does have those Cure 3s, I think will be fine here. Looks like Kane will be the one to endure.
And we see an Octomammoth, which should be no problem for this party.
NablaForce, very great execution on this DKC fight. In spite of the massive Dark Wave damage, gets it first try. And can get another Sid. But notably, I believe that puts Nabla at 10 key items. Or is that just 9? Pass does not count, regrettably. Yeah, that's just 9. Still needs one more. That rat tail could be it. Or this fight at the Leviathan spot could be it.
And we see an old man lying on the ground here in the Tower of Zod.
That is a Tella. We have completed ordeals. He does have his full spell suite. And that is this is fairly thematically appropriate. Still angry at that Spoony Bard after all these years. This is kind of a curious setup, though, because if we don't find the Darkness Crystal and we do find those other objectives, a racer with their nuanced tactics who knows how to do these Aromas fights solo with Edward may be able to eke out a cheeky win here. Although I would have a hard time choosing that, given that Crystal Sword. I just want my Cecil to smack everything.
And we do get a bonus round here in the tower with our hidden demist.
So a 2-for-1 for Kohrek up here. Gonna get 1 item from clearing the tower, and then 1 from going to Rydia's mom in the Village Mist after defeating this dragon. But Nabla, of course, if Nabla gets a key item from this Ruby fight, will be at 10 key items and getting double experience going forward. Yeah, that's roughly 3,000 a swing from the Crystal Sword Cecil, and also the fact that Cecil's has some sort of elemental resistance equipped and is taking half damage from all these Fire 2 counters. I don't think Nabla even cares if the rest of the team survives. Just Cecil is going to single-handedly carve through the rest of this seed.
All you need is for Zeromus is Cecil and a white mage. Well, Crystal Sword, Cecil, and a white mage.
I mean, we do have a community member, Simbu, who has beaten Zeromus with a team of 5 level 1 Paladin Cecils, properly equipped, of course. And Kohrek is through this fight. Gonna be seeing some back-to-back key item checks here. Well, one reward and then another one after a little bit of cutscene. Nabla down to just a kid and a paladin, but that is enough. Let's see what this other Fey March reward is. Well, we got a Sand Ruby in a package. All the character checks you don't want to make. Thanks, Fey March.
That hurts a lot.
I mean, Nabla killed those 2 bosses about as quickly as anyone could be expected to. Meanwhile, Kohrek gets a required Twin Harp from the Tower of Zot, heading directly there. Y'all know we're getting music, chat. You've known it since we saw the objectives, but get those harps out if you got them. There is one thing I'm worried about for Kohrek, though. That is, doing this makes it very easy to forget your Mist Dragon check. If Mist Dragon ends up having that Baron key, that would be a very painful thing to have forgotten. Finally getting a Rat Tail check by Nabla, though.
Ooh.
That's very spicy, given that we have a Crystal Sword Cecil. The Avenger Sword, of course, will put you in Zerk mode, and as long as you don't take any actions before it overtakes your character, you will retain the attack power of your previous weapon, which is great with a Crystal Sword. But Nabla has to feel real bad here. Has completed 3 boss fights, none of which led to progression. This is back in Kohrek's hands, even though he's done fewer checks per minute.
And we are to music. Just have to go through Dark Elf's script, and we will be quiet and see what song it is.
Enjoy the music, chat. We'll be back with you after a few bars of that sweet, sweet tune from DJ Spoony B. Well, Chad, you know it, you love it. That's Chrono's theme from Chrono Trigger. We do see an Hourglass coming out to freeze the cows on the back row. In spite of this location's higher magic defense, I think this Quake is still going to do a really good job of mopping up these dolls. This is about as free a fight as was left in the game, given the other ones we've seen.
That does just leave some nasty bosses on the moon if that's where they have to go next.
Waterhack's still out there. But Waterhack can be real nasty if it punches hard enough. Well, just a Moonveil here, not the Baron Key. Which... That means that our progression is through that Mist Dragon check. Kohrek, hope you don't forget it.
And I do believe that means that it has to be the darkness crystal as well.
It could be the Baron Key, and then the Baron Key could gate the Darkness Crystal. With either that Odin spot or the Kinatsu throne. But if Kohrek forgets that the... Okay. I like this play, by the way. So, not ready to fight Zeromus yet, but that does complete objective number 1. I mean, I guess if you really want to, you could unlock the sewer with the Baron Key and then go to the... Okay, I don't... I mean, you were already there, I suppose, but you have to come back there anyway. I think that was just being silly.
I was really concerned for a minute.
Kohrek did not forget. This is great for Kohrek. Kohrek may not realize it's great for him, but it's great for him. It's also good for Nabla. If that had been the Baron Key, Kohrek would have a huge lead. It being darkness means the entire moon is now an option. The Baron Key will be behind one of the 5 boss spots up there. And so if Kohrek gets sidetracked on Earth, decides to do more Earth bosses, or if just Nabla and Kohrek take different routes on the moon, this gives Nabla a huge chance to catch back up here.
Very true. And Nabla knows that it has to be up there if it isn't behind Cave Magnus.
Yeah, again, Nabla just has full cleared the Earth at this point except for Cave Magnus. Has done everything Kohrek's done except that Cave Magnus, and then some. Has cleared Sealed Cave, has cleared both Feymarch fights. Nabla been tearing through the Seed. But, you know, if you're willing to make certain skips, make certain gambles, just because you can beat a boss doesn't always mean you should beat that boss.
And back to our earlier discussion, it looks like Nabla did sell that life staff for some extra cash.
I mean, again, with that Cecil and Nabla having not only the Crystal Sword but an Avenger to go with it, I'm not that worried about the Zeromus fight taking a particularly long time. I'm not worried about having to cast a whole bunch of white magic either. I'm not worried about, oh, can I stretch this Cure 3 to do as much as a Cure 4? Very little concerns there. And if Nabla remembers where Cure 3s are, you don't even really need a white mage. You can put Kayn and Sid on white mage duty at this point with the potions.
We do see Bacchus wines on the moon, so very likely going to see some berserk strats from our runners.
And that again gives a little bit of equity for Kohrek compared to NablaForce. Nabla, of course, got that Avenger, amazing weapon, but if you buy a case of wine, pretty much just as good, and didn't have to do the Sealed Cave to get it.
And we see a ninja on the altar. Will be interesting to see if we take him. We do not.
Yeah, I think Kohrek did take his gear, though. The bandana's a fantastic strength-boosting helmet. The black belt gi, again, a great strength-boosting armor. But we're about to get an encore, chat, so I'm going to go radio silent and enjoy that Chrono Trigger music again. Enjoy that, and let's see where Kohrek heads. Nabla cleans up the dolls very nicely, and Kohrek goes straight to the D Lunar Altar. This is the one spot on the moon that gives 2 key item checks. Finds a Leviathan there. Not going to be a problem for this team.
And it is nice to see Leviathan there rather than any of our split fights, as this will give the full 100,000 experience as well.
Which, as was pointed out in chat, by the way, Kohrek's only at 9 key items compared to NablaForce's 10, so in spite of being ahead on the important checks, we'll have to do a little bit of extra work to get levels. Nabla, if Nabla takes this same route, we'll be getting 200,000 from this spot. Of course, if Nabla takes, top down and finds that Baron key, we have another leapfrog in the lead, which is always nice. Well, if that, is profitable. You never know.
Or could go to Cave Bahamut. I hear there's always value there.
I do like that the lack of a curse ring on this seed, or at least in the places our racers checked, has given them both motivation to actually take actions in combat to keep that Sid down. That Dwarf Axe gives -5 agility, which is nice, but both our racers would much rather have the -15 of a cursed ring. Now, Nabla may, again, elect to swap up the lunar routing. Nabla knows that he's checked 3 spots that didn't actually give him value. If you assume that your opponent faded those spots, you have to assume your opponent has gotten the edge on checking the moon. And if so, you may want to mix your route up. Kohrek does get through this fight. 2 chests here. Let's see what the rewards are.
And only a heroine robe and pink tail. While that does get him to 10 key items, it is not required.
The 10th key item is nice, going to get double XP for the rest of these lunar fights. It's also good news for Kohrek that Nabla may be taking the same route here. If Nabla goes to the Pale Dim spot, the Vanilla Murasame altar, that'll be a huge change. Kohrek heading up. Is Kohrek going to do a miniature grind here, or is he headed for the Wyvern spot?
Looks like he is going to do a grind.
I kind of like this plan. You did just hit 10 key items, and with your hourglasses, you can, I believe Kohrek had 3 of them. You can burn 3 sirens, fight a few sets of these King Ryus. If you life glitch even one of them, that'll be 180,000 XP per fight. If you can get a double life glitch, you're gonna get 240,000. And getting these levels will just make the remaining fights go that much faster.
And it looks like Nabla is going to go straight down to the lower lunar subterranean.
This could give Nabla the chance to pull back into the lead here. Nabla will be getting double XP from every fight, including that doubled 100,000 at the Vanilla D Lunar spot. So if Nabla doesn't have to take a pause to grind, this will put Nabla right back in the thick of it. They're about to be even on key item checks. At least one's remaining key item checks from our vantage point of, omniscience.
Takes a quick save, and does head into the 2 key item room.
Kohrek takes down a second grind fight, another 108,000. I wonder if he's going to go all the way to Nuke and Holy on his twins, or if he just intends to get up to Cure 4 on his Porum. Although this is the last hourglass, it may just be an issue of doing it till you're out of hourglasses.
Yeah, these King Ryus without hourglasses can be very, very scary and take your party down very quickly.
Yeah, they have a pretty strong melee attack. Any kind of gear with dragon defense will reduce it accordingly. They have a lightning attack that is based on a percentage of your max HP, so it can definitely chew through even your high health characters in a hurry. And they counter attacks with an entangle, a paralysis attack. So if you can stop them or weak them, very handy. And those hourglasses came in very, very nice for Kohrek there.
And Nabla takes down Leviathan, gets 200,000 experience.
And it looks like Kohrek's done grinding. They are about to be exactly even again. Nabla didn't grind before this fight. I don't see why he would start at this point. So, literally neck and neck again. It's going to be how quickly each one can clear these boss fights out. Kohrek has the levels advantage, but Nabla's skills have been completely on point tonight. I have no idea who's going to win this race, Chad.
And we do see a minor deviation in our party where Nabla did take the edge.
This poor Mylon Z. So the Crystal Sword does bonus damage to Undead and its Holy Elemental, so I believe Cecil is getting a ×8 multiplier on damage here. If there were no damage cap in this game, we would have seen well into the 5 digits right there. The Borzoi asking in chat, is this just a race to find the Baron key? It is now. That is the only item either of our racers needs, and they don't even have to clear Baron. They just have to open the door and make a break back to Troya to take that pass to Zeromus.
And Groundflyer asks in chat, Nabla Sid is still alive, but the rescue flag is on, and we have seen an Edward that we did not take.
Yeah, so if you're in a desperate situation for a slower anchor, there are characters we can go pick up there. There is even Nabla has that Sand Ruby. Could just go swap his Sid out for another Sid and slap that Dwarf Axe on him. It will slow him down a little bit though, but Kohrek's losing time in fights by having to knock his Sid down. Oh, is either one gonna reset? Okay, Kohrek resets. NablaForce committing to it. We have divergence yet again. This is the first time I've seen this in a live race chat. One of the newest 4.0 flags is the Alt Gauntlet. Instead of just fighting the same boring Baron crew wherever you encounter them, Alt Gauntlet now puts it 5 encounters from the local pool. The best place to see this is the Ogopogo spot. We've got Evil Masks, we're gonna get Behemoths, we're gonna get Red Dragons. This is gonna be a huge time sink. If the value's here, Nabla's gonna take this, hands down. If it's not, Nabla better be hoping that Kohrek runs into an equally jerk of a fight elsewhere. Good news for Nabla though, this is gonna be all the levels he needs. Not gonna have to do a single grind once done here.
Yes, this is definitely the fight that we all have nightmares about.
So, not a hard fight, but maybe a slow fight over here for Kohrek. Asura will counter every single one of these swings, and this is tied for second highest attack power in the game. So those counter punches are going to be rude. Although apparently not rude enough. I think there's a Protect Ring still on that Palom.
And one thing that you don't get to see much in Free Enterprise that the Alt Gauntlet has brought back is these enemies that you don't fight very often, such as the evil masks, which are just as horrifying as they were 25 years ago.
Yeah, they'll set up a full party wall on you and on themselves, and then they start bouncing, I believe, the holy spell at you, if I remember correctly. Again, I've not run into this fight, so I've not had to deal with these things in decades. The painful thing here, actually, is that Avenger being stuck on Kane means that any behemoths we see here are going to be letting loose a lot of strong counterattacks. And Kohrek's reward for beating the Wyvern spot is the rare drop from the evil masks.
And Kohrek decides to fade that Ogopogo location, goes to look and see possibly what the Pale Dim has to hold for us today.
Now we still have Pale Dim and Bahamut. It's entirely coming down to where this Baron Key is.
But
oh, Nabla's in a pickle. The good news for Nabla is that as long as both red dragons are alive, neither one will use Heat Wave. And Cecil has immensely strong defense, and in particular has dragon defense as well. Could probably actually solo this with Cecil as long as he doesn't let either one stay alive on its own for that long. Funny thing here is I don't think I would be using the Cure 4 on both characters with Porum, because Cecil will not cover her if she gets her HP back, unless he's done it manually, which may have been what I just missed while looking at this Ogopogo on Kohrek's side.
these are some very nasty encounters on the moon.
I mean, you called it at the start, Allie. When we came up here, you pointed out that nearly all the easy bosses were out of the pool, and that is definitely the case right here. I'm kind of hoping it ends up being a Water Hag and Cave Bahamut, because again, we've not seen Water Hag. That's our one left. And Cave Bahamut is tied for the highest physical attack power in the game. And I just love it when Water Hag actually gets to take down a few of your party members with her.
She hits like a truck. I've done her in that spot, and it's not fun.
Yeah, especially if you don't have agility anchoring to keep up to speed with her. Just a Leviathan summon. Chat, we are down to 2 spots for this Baron Key. We have Cave Bahamut, will there be value? Or behind this extremely rude Gauntlet spot that has Nabla trying to eke out the win. Does have a Zerked Cecil here. Does have Dragon Defense. Doesn't eat a Heat Wave. You want more levels on that overpowered Paladin? Well, the good news is Nabla took the edge, right? So there's that. Chat, we know where it is now. It is in Cave Bahamut. Value in Cave Bahamut on the moon. We don't know who the boss is yet. That means Kohrek is going to be the first one to get the Baron Key and be in go mode. Coming from behind, I would say, after Nabla was making very quick work of a lot of bosses, but just that committing to the Alt Gauntlet cost Nabla a lot of time and is now walking to that Wyvern spot. We're gonna have great finish times by both racers tonight, and just an amazing performance by both parties.
Well, and we are so close. That's a vanilla Bahamut.
Is this even randomized? Yeah, in chat, go ahead, get it out there. Our tracker tonight is Bahamut, so I guess we can blame that on him instead of our restreamer tonight. Yeah, this is a very free boss. Just reflect its power back at it, but I don't think that's even going to happen. I think Cecil cuts this dragon down before a single Mega Nuke. There it goes. Show me a Baron key. And that will be go mode as soon as Kohrek opens the door. Hey, Ali, you notice what key item is left to be found in Baron Castle?
Would that be the magma key?
Yeah. That would have made this seed even better if it had also been throw the magma key down the well, just to know that it will have been last location pretty much by what we saw and through the rudeness of the seed. Anyway, moral of the story, Ali, if Bahamut's on your restream team, go for the value.
Now, I always go for meme percent. But I'm also 0-2, so don't do what I do.
Borzoi, there's still several boss spots left. There are 2 fights on the Giant. There's the basement throne. There's the main throne. There's the Baigan fight, which we saw was Dr. Luge earlier. And whoever is at the Kaipo guard spot. So we can't say for sure who those remaining locations are, but we do have a crystal. And we have a ton of levels. We have Bacchuswine. We have a level 54 Cecil with a crystal sword.
And we even see the swag whale to Troya.
Ooh, Nabla getting the text box glitch. Won't be quite aware that that is a glass hat, but knows he only needs the Baron key. Can check that track menu very quickly to see if it's there. It's not very quick reset.
And exits out of the moon will likely go back in and check that pale dim spot.
But I'm seeing a lot of Z flags in chat, Ali. What's that all about?
Well, we didn't want to put Zeromus into the normal boss pool because he is the hardest boss of the game, but we did want to make him a little random too. So our resident artist Skolakitty has come up with over 440 different sprites that Zeromus could be. Would you like to do the honors?
So, Chad, since it's always a surprise, we're always excited to see exactly whose butt we are going to kick tonight. And it is going to be a thorough kick-in, again, with how strong this team has gotten from getting those levels and then still full clearing Moon. Both our racers are going to do a ridiculous job here. Nabla very well executed the entire seed, just did a few more checks than Kohrek did, but both of them are going to have no problems wrapping this up. That's new to me. Ali, do you know this?
I'm guessing it's gotta be from Monkey Island.
Chat's saying it's Homestuck, so... I don't think anyone wants to learn about Homestuck Skolakitty, but sure, why not? I thought you were making fun of Poidrak for a minute.
And Nabla is heading down to the very last location available to him.
Borzoi, that is Lord British, I think. Lord Britain, Lord something like that.
Lord British.
Yeah, and he is also a Z-Sprite in one of his Ultima forms, so he's in the pool too. Keep playing and you'll find him. I don't think he looks like this, though. Not a lot to say here, chat. We have a Zerk Cecil. We have a Zerg Kane with a pretty mighty spear. We are reflecting Holies and Nukes off of a Star Veil. Going for hybrid power overwhelming strats here. This means that Zeromus will refill its HP once it takes damage past the 45,000 mark and get a full 61,000 HP to chew through. But with this damage, there's not hardly anything to worry about. We have those Cure 3s around as well if we need a heal. But Cecil's rocking 3,000 HP. Even a Big Bang into a Meteor probably won't knock him down. Meanwhile, Nabla has also collected their Baron Key. Will be in go mode now. Curious what he's going to do about his anchor situation. Wonder if that Sand Ruby will come into play or if there's another plan coming.
May realize that their anchor is too fast since they didn't knock their Sid down.
I mean, with this team, especially those bonus levels from the Gauntlet, may not matter, but we are seeing a landing here at Basidia. Oh, just swapping airships, though. Oh, and that fight went by awful fast. Englishmus is down. Kohrek takes the win and advances to 3-0 in Swiss rounds. Very well played. And I believe we are joined by your winner tonight, Kohrek. GG.
Thank you. GG's.
So how are you feeling? You sound a little out of breath, but it looked like your team had no troubles there at the end.
Oh yeah, the Z fight was easy enough. I was a little bit shaky throughout this seed, so I feel very fortunate to come out with the victory here.
You played wonderfully. I mean, there are very few problems that a Crystal Sword Cecil won't solve, but you skipped all the right things. Nabla has also torn this seed up, but full cleared Earth, including Sealed Cave and Feymarch, actually sat through that gauntlet that you oh so wisely skipped out on. What other fights in the seed that really made you worried? What else made you maybe feel like you were a bit behind?
The Baron Inn, where I'm just like, oh, I have Piggy, but I'm not going to use it on my characters before this fight. And then, well, maybe I should just wait and see if I get lucky with the Star Veil. Oh, nope, I didn't. Okay. That was a big one, but I don't know. There was just a lot of little things where I'm just like flubbing up little menus and things that I don't normally do. But I actually scouted out my opponent, their two races that they had prior, and I'm like, wow, they are a little bit better than me, and they route very similarly to me. So if it push comes to shove, I'm just going to need to commit to a couple skits, and that's what I did.
Definitely worked out like a charm for you. Other big question I have for you is, what was your plan? What was going through your head regarding that evil wall until the Crystal Sword appeared? What were you going to do if that hadn't cropped up for you?
Well, I was figuring in that my Porum was going to get, that Berserk, and we're just going to see what happens here. I had a couple illusions. I think Cecil was taking it pretty well, but I can't even remember what he had before. It might have been like a Runex, but yeah, I think I was just going to try and see and pray a little bit, I guess.
Allie, do you have any questions for Kohrek on that admirable performance?
Just how terrified were you when you saw that gauntlet?
Like, we all know the alt gauntlet is a thing. We all love the alt gauntlet, but man, whenever it pops up at first, you're like, wait, what? Oh yeah.
I haven't seen this in 25 years.
Exactly. So I did put an input in, and I started. I'm just like, well, you know what? Let's reset out. This is one of those spots where I can pick up time, and if it's here, I'm okay with losing. If it's here, that's okay. So that's what I did, because I knew that would be a tough, long fight.
Well, GG's again. Thank you so much for the great match. We really appreciate watching it. It was very, very entertaining, very close the whole way.
Thank you, and thank you guys so much for the restream and the commentary. It's just been a lot of fun. I cannot believe I just started racing this like 3 months ago, and I know I've gotten a little bit lucky here, but to get to 3-0 in this, it just feels great. And I know I'm like running into a buzzsaw now, but that's the nature of Swiss, and I look forward to it regardless. So thanks again, guys.
Hey, GG's, and good luck in your Week 4 matchup. We're gonna have some real spicy 3-0 matches coming our way very soon. Well, friends, that was Kohrek. Beautiful GG's from the chat. Well done. Nabla over here tearing into this English must. Didn't swap out the anchor, and probably no need to again. We have power overwhelming with this kind of crew. When you see a 3,700 HP Cecil with a crystal sword, the panic's pretty much over.
Very, very true. And just kind of going to town, I guess keeping Sid alive just in case Big Bang goes awry.
Absolutely. Even just being able to throw a life potion on a Porum who can then get a Cure 4 off. If you have any elixirs you picked up along the way, any Cure 3 potions you bought, having a Sid just hanging out as a chemist is an excellent strategy to use on Zeromus fights, especially if your anchoring is a little wonky.
And Big Bang does go out and does take out that Porum.
Yeah, a full-powered Big Bang can do 2,400 or 2,700 max damage, but it doesn't matter. Crystal Sword solves all. Nabla has taken down English Miss just about 5.5 minutes behind Kohrek. All came down to that alt Gauntlet. If it had just gone the other way for NablaForce, would have won this handily. Just beautiful play. Worried about anyone who has to face Nabla in the 2-in-1 match next week. We're going to check with our restreamer and see if Nabla wants to join us for an interview. And if not, I believe there is more free enterprise happening tonight. I am getting confirmation from Jofus Manho, our restreamer, that Nabla will not be joining us for an interview, but beautiful race, amazing performance by both racers. I think Nabla cleared nearly every available spot, and to come in this close, that is a racer to watch out for in the weeks to come. Make sure you give them a follow. I'll go ahead and put those links in chat one more time. If you don't mind, give us a follow in the commentary booth as well, and the Restream team at large putting on the show for you tonight. I think we are going to be rating the Free Enterprise channel. We have another match coming up there in just a few minutes. And yeah, let's, I'm going to double check right quick. Allie, any final thoughts while we see who we're going to see playing in a minute?
I think that was just one of the trollier seats that we've seen so far with just some of the boss placements, but our runners did an amazing job and managed to take it out in less than an hour 40 between the two of them.
Yeah, just amazing performance by both racers. Very well done with a lot of rude bosses. If you want to keep track of upcoming matches, hit that bit.ly link for full Gauntlet in chat. We are going to be rating the Free Enterprise channel. There's a match coming up between Chrono 200 and Dr. Cossack. Both very good runners of this game, currently at 1-1 each, so it should be a very, very interesting matchup. So enjoy some more Free Enterprise tonight. Be back here tomorrow, of course. We'll have another one for you pretty much every weeknight on RBG Limit Break. And yeah, it's been a blast, friends. Allie?
Thank you so much. Thank you again to Invenerable, to Jofus for doing the restream, and for Bahamut for tracking. Great job, everyone.